Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Speculating Disney Parks. I'm the nostalgic Disney fan, Sam, and with me, as always, is the new age Disney fan, Porter.
Howdy.
Today, we're going to be speculating Adventureland, and this will wrap up the Magic Kingdom for all of our speculations. And we're going to switch things up today. Instead of doing a top five, we're going to speculate the Galactic Star Cruiser potential replacement. Obviously, if you're a Disney fan, you know that it's going to be closing down last voyage in the end of September. It'd be hard to think that, or I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't do something with it. We all know they're going to replace it with something, so we're going to speculate what. But before we get to that, let us wrap up our Magic Kingdom speculation with a look at Adventureland. Do you see my screen here?
There it is. Yep.
Awesome. All right, so first, let's see. Let's say we're going through Frontierland here, whatever it's going to be. And we come over here to Adventureland, the first attraction. Okay, those are shops. Although the Tortuga Tavern, I cannot recall that I've ever eaten there, but I've heard it's very unpopular. Like they have a very limited menu.
Yeah, I think they only ever have like two menu items on there.
Boy,
And I don't even remember what those menu items are.
well, hopefully something changes with that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. But first up on the stops. Sorry about that. First up on our stops here be Pirates of the Caribbean. I think the theming of the ride is absolutely safe. It is a classic, launched probably one of the most successful Disney movie franchises, created, Captain Jack Sparrow that we all love. So I think this ride, the theming is safe. However, I think the animatronics are going to need a serious overhaul because you see them a lot in TPM vids, like the auctioneer is constantly having problems. I know the jail cell area, that one has a lot of problems as well.
hmm
Those are some old animatronics from the early 70s, so yeah, it needs help.
Do you think that they would uh, do that like animatronic refurbishment within the next 10 years?
I think that all depends on whether or not they're going to release. There's all the speculation that they're going to do another Pirates movie, and who knows who's going to be in it. I heard the one with Margot Robbie. She said that it was scrapped. But I think if they don't do something, and although with Tiana's Bayou Adventure opening up right near it, I don't know that you want to close an attraction with a popular ride. I could see maybe in the next 10 years, so maybe closer to the end of that 10-year mark, that they do an animatronic technology overhaul or something.
Okay.
And
Okay.
please do something about those boats running into each other, because that was
Yeah.
uncomfortable when you're sitting there during Yo Ho Pirate's Life for me, and or bumper to bumper, like a
Oh my
restart on a
gosh.
NASCAR race.
Yeah, and you just like you sit there waiting for the boat behind you to just run into you, ram you forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, for such a classic ride, that really is like an immersion breaker there at the end. I do think it. I personally think it's safe. I don't think they touch this one in the next 10 years at all, unless, like you said, they do release another Pirates movie. In which case, I could see them doing a similar, um, like layover on one of the scenes, like what they did for. Oh, which movie was that? On Stranger Tides, they
I
did
do.
something.
What I remember was they added.
They had a
Which one
mermaid
was
skeleton
Stranger
to the
Tides? That's the
beach.
one with Blackbeard, right?
Yes, yeah, and
Okay,
the
so what I
fountain of youth
remember
and
them
everything.
doing was the fog, and they had the different villains saying, like, I don't remember the dialogue,
I
to be
think they
honest with you,
still
but
do that. What I'm referring to is that part that where you go through and there's the seagull cawing and there's like a beach scene and there's like a crab. They at one point for On Stranger Tides they'd had like the mermaids singing and they had like a mermaid skeleton on the beach. So like that's some like I could see them doing
okay.
if they come out with another Pirates movie in the next 10 years. Like then yeah, sure. they put some promo scenery, in their ride. But
Do
I
you
really
know
don't
the
think they
alleged
touched this one.
reason why they removed that mermaid skeleton?
Oh, yes, but why don't you go ahead and tell it?
It's the alleged reason is too many children thought it was Ariel, so they removed it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was true, but I've never seen it confirmed anywhere. I've just mainly seen it in like TikTok videos.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was only ever supposed to be temporary, just like a promo for the movie.
Right,
But
because yeah, that one did have quite a few mermaids in it.
yeah, it is kind of funny to think about
Ariel's dead.
though. But we just saw her over in her grotto.
Anyways, um, moving on to next on the map would be Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room.
Yeah, I think this one probably also remains untouched for the next 10 years. Um, it's Walt Disney's piece of Adventureland. Or no, I guess I would say Jungle Cruise is probably Walt Disney's piece of Adventureland. But this is like the animatronic show, similar to what Country Bears does for Frontierland. Um, it's a nice place to go, sit down and cool off. I love the show, but it does kind of put me to sleep sometimes. Um, Honestly, it's probably just because the room is so dark and the AC is on. So, less to do with the show, but I think it's safe.
I'm gonna agree with you on that because it's very nostalgic and it's the first big animatronic show back when that technology was groundbreaking and everything. So it's I don't see them doing a retheme because the last time they rethemed it, people hated it and it didn't really go over well at all. So I think it's safe unless they come out with a movie that has Frozen level success and has birds. Maybe
Yeah,
they would touch it, but I find that highly doubtful.
yeah. I don't see what they would like based on the existing IP. I don't know what they would turn this into.
Kind of
So
nice that it's one of those few attractions that's like original park
yeah,
characters and everything. It's not bringing in existing IP.
exactly. And I think it never the room never fills up. I feel like, but I don't know. It's still a part of Adventureland, and I think it needs to stay.
Most definitely. So next, we'll go to the one right next to it. Uh the Magic Carpets of Aladdin. I don't think this well, I don't know actually. It's certainly not one of my favorite attract. I know kids love the spitting camel and everything right in front of it, or when you're uh coming from Main Street and the camel spits. I know kids love that and all, but it's
Yeah,
the ride itself just isn't that interesting. I mean, it's crammed there in the center, like it's annoying to walk around.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's just another spinny ride that it doesn't have like the novelty that Dumbo does, and it doesn't have like the height element that Astro Orbiter does. Um, eh, yeah, I mean, it comes in last place in terms of those spin rides, but I mean, it's a good one for young kids, I'm sure. You know, um, I just think if they put something smaller here, I can't remember if I talked about this in a previous episode, but like the concept of like a juice bar, like a circular juice bar.
Yes, we had talked about this.
Okay,
Don't know if it was on the way back from last trip to Disney World, but
that
yes,
might
I
have been
would
it.
I would love that so much.
Like that would be kind of cool. So this plaza would essentially become, just a place where people relax and have their Dole Whips or their whatever they get at the Tiki Juice bar. You know, like
Exactly.
it would feel kind of like a party, which is what I feel like Adventureland out of all the lands should feel like.
So let us know. This will be our Instagram preview. Do you think Magic Carpets of Aladdin should be replaced with a tiki bar or juice bar? Let us
Yeah, we
know at
gotta keep it
trader.sam.eagle on
now.
Instagram.
I do think like if for some reason they made they did like a revamp of Adventureland, that Magic Carpets of Aladdin would probably go. But
I
that's
agree.
just if they did that, which I don't see them doing in the next 10 years.
I don't want this ride to be safe, but I think it might as well be.
Yeah, yeah.
So next would be Jungle Cruise. This, in my opinion, is as safe as the Haunted Mansion. It is a classic Disney ride. I love those goofy jokes. I will laugh at them every time. Safe, safe, safe.
Yeah, no, absolutely safe. Um, I really don't have anything to add. I love this attraction. Um, the theming on it, even like what they've got going on across the way at like the that table service restaurant, Skipper Canteen. Like it's quintessential Adventureland to me. So there's no way they get rid of this ride. Knock on wood. Safe.
Yeah, too nostalgic, too fun of a ride. There's always I've like some I commonly see a 45 to I'd say 90-minute wait for it. It's too popular.
Oh, and if you have not ridden it at nighttime, you gotta try the Jungle Cruise nighttime.
Yes. It's spooky, but it's fun.
Especially, oh my gosh, especially when you go into that like the pyramid or the temple with the tiger, the monkeys like playing with the like all the treasure. Like
Yeah.
it feels so good, and the skipper doesn't talk through that portion. It's a really cool part.
And if I remember right, we had to get that early in the day, or maybe it was mid-afternoon that we were able to reserve that.
The lightning lane for it.
Say, was it Lightning Lane or was it Genie Plus? The two are so easy to mix up, but yeah, it was well worth it. So put that on your bucket list.
Well, for Genie, isn't Genie Plus like the system, and Lightning Lane is like what you actually are booking.
Okay, I
Like
think
you're
you're right.
booking
So
Lightning Lane.
it was Lightning Lane that we did it for the evening. Yeah. So next on our the last attraction here in Adventureland, Swiss Family Treehouse. Porter, why don't you start this one?
Yeah, I was thinking about this before we started recording. Like, I didn't really want to come in here just saying everything was safe, but I really do think this entire land is safe for the next 10 years. Like,
Really?
I really don't think they're going to touch much, even Swiss Family Robinson. However, if they were gonna touch something, it would be this attraction, I think. Um, I mean, I don't really know how much kids love it. Maybe they do. And we just don't go up in it when we go. So I can't gauge like if this is one for the families, like if this is something that's beloved. But I mean, I just think that this could be at least reskinned, to like a different IP. Um, just because no one really knows what Swiss Family Robinson is anymore.
Right. I mean, that movie came out in the 50s or
Yeah,
60s. I remember
it's
watching it as a
ages ago.
kid, but I haven't watched it in at least 20 years or so. So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it fits the land and everything. Um, yeah, I feel like they could really do something cool with that space, especially since it's so close to the beginning of the eastern entrance to Adventureland. Like, you basically just see the magic carpets of Aladdin and that treehouse. And then everything beyond that is what you want to do.
pretty much. I want to say I heard talk of, they're talking about the retheme for the I'm gonna need to look at this real quick. What the theming of the Swiss Family Treehouse was in Disneyland. I know it was a Tarzan theme, and then it got rethemed to something else.
Mm.
Because there was a lot of people thought that it was going to be A lot of people were thinking it was going to be Encanto, but it didn't end up being that.
Oh, like the I can't remember the little boy's name, but the one with like the sort of animal
Yeah,
theme going on in his room. Yeah, I mean, even Tarzan would be, I think, at least more relevant to, the millennial Disney crowd, at least. Um,
that closed down in Disneyland though. Now they replaced it with the Adventureland Treehouse.
just generic Adventureland treehouse.
That's what it's going to be called in Disneyland. So
It's so interesting that that's gone through, three different forms in this one at Disney World. It's just been the same.
it kind of makes you. I don't know if like they're holding on to it because it has some nostalgic value or something, but I don't know. I would have thought that this would have been one that might have gotten rethemed to something else. Antonio was the kid's name. He was the one who had
Onio,
the.
that's right.
I mean, that would be pretty cool if they had like I don't know how you do the animals and everything, but maybe that'd be more of an Animal Kingdom thing. But I don't know. I could see them trying to make Antonio's room from Encanto work, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I think whatever, if they were going to replace the treehouse with something, it would still have to be something tall, because this whole tree does add some like really nice verticality and the feeling of being dwarfed by something natural. Um,
Exactly.
and I think it does a good job of hiding a lot of Jungle Cruise, uh, from the guests that are walking the paths in Adventureland, from the guests that are in the boats.
Hmm.
So it serves a lot of different purposes that I wonder if the treehouse in Disneyland is not needed for those aesthetic purposes. So that's why it's gone through so many different changes.
I hadn't really thought about that. That's I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, there could be a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't care to touch it. It's just another place that the crowds can go into.
I guess so. I guess it's one of those things that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right, right.
All right, well that wraps up Adventureland and all of the Magic Kingdoms. So we'll get started talking about Epcot next, which is exciting.
Yes.
All
Wow.
right, so on to the next portion. We're not doing a top five. We're talking about Galactic Star Cruiser and what it could be, what they could do with that. Porter, I'll let you start.
Yeah, yeah. So just to recap, as I'm sure most of y'all know, Disney announced that the Galactic Star Cruiser is closing down, like we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, last voyage in September. Um, I think the general consensus is that this is just too expensive for the average Disney family to do, and they just couldn't generate enough interest at that price point. It was interesting because myself included, I think a lot of us thought that they were eventually going to lower the price of the Galactic Star Cruiser to make it more, affordable. And I think they did that with annual pass holders for a little stint. Um, but yeah, I guess they just decided, hey, this isn't working, which is a shame because this type of immersive experience is one of a kind. But it was just so dang expensive, and I don't blame anyone for not supporting that because I think what is $5,000 something dollars.
I saw from an influencer on Instagram $5,700 for a 48-hour experience, which is that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and granted, like I'm sure a lot comes with that. You have a whole cast just inside the ship itself. Um, it's a premium experience, so you're probably getting a lot of stuff included, meeting a lot of characters within a short amount of time. So you got to factor in all those things. Still doesn't really excuse. I don't want to sound at all like I'm defending the decision to make it that expensive, but um,
That's a
yeah,
lot of
they
money.
really it's just a ton of money. And when you could go to Disney World for a week,
and
at
less than
at
that.
that price point, yeah, and less than that price point, depending on the size of your group. Most people are going to choose that and forgo this hyper expensive Star Wars experience.
Right. I
Now,
mean, it was all based on, I know people were talking about meeting characters. Like I know Kylo Ren was there, Rey was there, Chewbacca was there. And then they
Chewbacca,
start
yeah,
talking about all these new characters you can meet. And of course, everybody's going, oh,
you're right, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I don't blame them for trying to, do something new with this. It certainly looked cool and I would have done it, but like most people, I can't afford that.
right, exactly. And I really don't care to afford that either. It's just too far out of the realm of possibility. It feels like there's no way you could possibly reach that level of value. You know.
Right.
So the question is then, we're a speculating podcast. What do they do instead? Um, I've read a little bit of a few, Disney people's opinions on this. I'm of the opinion that I think Disney World will eventually either replace that area or in a different area do a deluxe themed or a deluxe Star Wars themed resort. Um, so it, still on the higher end of the price point. But obviously Grand Floridian, Contemporary, Polynesian, all of these resorts are incredibly popular. So why wouldn't a Star Wars themed deluxe resort also be that?
Yeah, I could see them doing a deluxe resort as well. My hope is that I want to make sure I get my definition right. Uh is the moderate resorts the one that's that are like Animal Kingdom Lodge, or that might
Animal
be a
Kingdom Lodge
deluxe
is a
resort?
deluxe. Yeah, moderates are like Coronado, Caribbean
Okay.
Beach. I think Port Orleans, where we stayed, is
Yep, that was a
the French
moderate.
Quarter is moderate. Yeah,
I would like to see it as a moderate resort just because, like, I know that deluxe resorts fill up quick because they're really nice hotels. I mean, I love the Grand Floridian, probably the most of, yeah, I'd say Grand Floridian was the one that I like the most of the three.
okay,
So
okay.
people, they'll pay for something like that where it's between 900 to 1,000 a night from what I've seen, but some people it's worth it. I mean, I would certainly like to try that someday, but I would hope that after as pricey as things were with Galactic Star Cruiser, they would bring it down to a moderate resort. And it may not be as immersive. You may not be looking out into space out your window, but
Yeah,
I still think they could do some pretty cool theming with it as well, where you could have different sections. Like even if they did a value resort, you could have different sections that would be cool. Like you're staying in you're staying on a Tatooine, you're staying on Hoth, you're staying on Endor,
yeah,
and kind of like how in the pop century, like you're staying in the 50s, you're staying in the 90s. That would be a pretty cool experience too, for maybe even the outer rim, like the certain sections of planets within Star Wars. Just like, adding to the experience of like, well, I got to stay at Mustafar this time. I hope I get to go to Coruscant next time.
yeah, exactly. And that like Pop Century, like Art of Animation, if they did go the value resort route, which I think would also be a perfectly viable way to go, yeah, like building giant models of like TIE fighters or X-Wings or, an AT-AT on Hoth or an Endor, like, an Ewok hut or village. Like there's so many things they could do with it, even at the value resort level. I almost wish they would have started with that. But kind of going on with a moderate or deluxe resort idea, you know, you, I don't know why Disney also didn't start with this because you can start it at a reasonable price point and then just go crazy with add-ons. Like if you want this experience where you play the part of a rebel and you work with Chewbacca and Rey or whatever to do this mission inside the resort, like that's an extra amount because then at least you have the option of like, okay, well, if I don't want to engage in that all that stuff, I don't, but I can still feel like I'm immersed in a Star Wars environment, with my family. It it makes so much sense to try these routes than what they did with Galactic Star Cruiser. Like that just seemed like an outrageous attempt at a money grab.
Starcruiser almost kind of seems like it could have been paired with a hotel. Like you have your regular, moderate, deluxe value, whatever
Yeah,
hotel from Star Wars that has, all the Star Wars statues, all the theming, all the different stuff. And then you have like the, oh shoot, what is it called? It's like they have like the deluxe villas and everything. That could have
yeah,
been like what you did with Star Cruiser. All right, well, if you want to add on to this experience, we have a special part of the hotel where it's fully immersive, where you're in a Star Cruiser.
exactly.
Like it could have been like a, it could have been an add-on that maybe didn't have to be as grand as what Star Cruiser was, but there are Star Wars fans that would absolutely love to have that experience, like they're staying in space. I don't know if I could handle it due to motion sickness and the screen and the window and everything showing space, but there are people out there that would do it, just maybe not $5,700.
Exactly, exactly. I think there's a huge demand for immersive experiences akin to what they had on Galactic Star Cruiser, just not at that price point.
Exactly.
And Disney can make all the money they want off of this stuff. They just the first thing is to make it accessible, and I think that's one thing that Bob Iger coming back on is focusing on is increasing the value. I think it's really hard to argue against the fact that the value of your Disney World ticket has gone down steadily under Chapek's reign.
Yep.
And I hope that they're working to get that back up.
I
And for Star Wars fans, hopefully that includes a more reasonably priced resort.
Let's hope so. One
Because they
thing that
can't
we
do
did as
Marvel.
well, or actually Porter did, was he asked Chat GPT what the new Star Wars hotel should be. Why don't you talk a little bit about that and everything and
I'd
share
love
with the
to.
world what they said?
Yeah. So something I like to do in my spare time just to see what generative AI comes up with is, asking them about what they think something like that might look like. So I'm going to read a few excerpts from the Chat GPT response that I had taken. So they said Disney could potentially create a themed hotel that transports guests to iconic locations from the Star Wars galaxy, such as Tatooine or Hoth. This type of immersive experience could involve themed rooms, interactive activities, and encounters with Star Wars characters. The focus would likely be on creating an environment where guests feel fully immersed in the Star Wars universe, which is what they tried to do with Galactic Star Cruiser. That was a sidebar. As technology continues to advance, Disney might incorporate more innovative elements such as augmented reality or virtual reality experiences to enhance the storytelling and immersion. These technologies could be used to create simulated starship battles, lightsaber duels, or other exciting adventures within the Star Wars universe. I wanted to pause there because I think that's a really cool idea. This idea of maybe incorporating at least some AR experiences within a resort, especially something like Star Wars. I think they do something like this in Galaxy's Edge, right? Like you have your data pad on the Disney Parks Play app.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. I know they've done augmented reality around the parks, but I never checked to see if they had anything for Galactic Star Cruiser for Galaxy's Edge. They might have.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure either, but I think that would be a really fun thing. You know how like Art of Animation and Pop Century also have those arcades?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like having a Star Wars themed
Ah.
arcade where like instead of, all the classic arcade games, they only have Star Wars themed ones. So, like you could go into the one of those sit-in booths, and it's shaped like a starfighter or something like that, and you play that way. So yeah, continuing with what ChatGPT had said, um, it said that it would likely fall into the deluxe resort category. Uh, Considering the level of immersion, interactive experiences, and attention to detail that would be required for a Star Wars themed hotel, it would likely be positioned as a premium offering. The goal would be to provide guests with an extraordinary exclusive experience similar to other deluxe resorts on the property. Um, yeah, and then it goes on to say like, you know, what a deluxe resort is and what a Star Wars deluxe resort could provide for Disney, which we don't really need to bring up. But yeah, that's what ChatGPT has to say about that.
I that's a lot of stuff that it's a lot of stuff that I don't think most people really think of in terms of arcades and such. I mean, to add augmented reality and of course the lightsaber fight would just be amazing because that's Star Wars' biggest draw is the Jedi stuff, you know.
Yeah,
Everybody wanted to be a Jedi at some point. And if you haven't done the lightsaber building, I know 250 is a lot to build a lightsaber, worth it. It is one of the coolest things you can do at Disney World.
yeah, that's one where I feel like I walked out glad that well, I mean, it's never fun to walk out of somewhere $250 lighter with a toy, but like with the experience and the quality of the lightsaber that you get, I felt like at least I got my money's worth.
I've seen replicas go for a lot more on the internet, so I
Yeah,
don't feel as bad about I know it's a lot of money on a Disney trip that you're already spending, but compared to what I see online, I'm like, I don't know that I feel all that bad about spending this much. I got to build it.
and that's kind of another thing, another interesting thing that you bring up. Disney Star Wars is different than the Star Wars that we know, than the original trilogy and the prequels. So I wonder if Disney didn't think of that. They thought like, oh, we're going to get, all these adult couples that love Star Wars or, adult families that love Star Wars. But I know a lot of adults that strongly, strongly prefer the prequels and the original trilogy than the sequels.
Hey,
Yeah, you need to. Most of us, right? So I think they missed the mark there in foresight, at least, um,
I
because
was
people are less likely to engage in sequel interactive immersions than if they could immerse themselves in the original trilogy or immerse themselves in the prequels.
when I was a kid, when I was 8 years old, I remember watching Attack of the Clones on DVD, watching that Coliseum fight over and over again on Geonosis. It's like this is so cool watching the Jedi go to battle. And that's why a lot of people love Jedi as well. It's just because of the prequels showing the Jedi
Yeah,
Order and everything. Of course, what we saw in Clone Wars made you question the Jedi Order a lot. But before that, being a Jedi looked pretty cool back before Order 66. So, I I liked Force Awakens, but didn't like Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker was okay, but I don't know. It's just I mean, like you have Mandalorian and Andor that are great, but
yeah,
for the most part, it's like why wouldn't they include the prequels and the original? Because that's I mean, the original are some of the greatest movies of all time.
yeah,
So I don't know. It just I wish they would incorporate more of that stuff and the more content they generate, and not so much focusing on the sequel trilogy because it just wasn't received very well.
yeah. But like, and I'm just serving as a devil's advocate for us both here. But Galaxy's Edge, something that's based on the sequel story, is insanely popular. People love Galaxy's Edge. Star
The
Wars,
immersion
old school
is
Star Wars, and young adults. So, and kids, it's
that's one sequel thing that worked, and then Galactic Star Cruiser, which was sequel, also didn't work. Granted, that was more due to price than content, but
yeah,
it's I don't know. I would still like to see. I mean, the sequels, they really got it with Galaxy's Edge, but we'd love to see more original trilogy and prequel stuff with another resort or something.
I think people would have been more willing to spend that 5,000 whatever price point if there was something to be had with the sequels or prequels and original trilogy. But I understand why Disney had to stick with the sequels because of the story that they have going in Galaxy's Edge and how that connects with the Galactic Star Cruiser story. Like, sure, it's just I guess it's hard to look that far ahead, but
So if
that's
they
their
do a
job.
resort, don't connect them.
You're right. Just separate it. Holy crap.
Leave them separate. Okay, maybe have a shuttle going back and forth, but just leave the storytelling at the park.
Right. Right. Yeah. Maybe they got too big for their britches on that one.
Yeah,
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go.
most definitely. Well, this has been a fun episode here, kind of talking about a resort instead of top five. I mean, I didn't think we'd get to speculating resorts this soon, but here we are. It's been a fun evening, and we will see you all in a couple weeks.
Later.
And may the force be with you all.
Yes, may the force be with you.